All right, good evening, good evening. One abusia yada nyamia se enwumere biem so no. Wama ya kwanya biem na yetumi aba with our financial program no. I know sir the last few weeks has been really exciting getting into our budget and dealing more with our budget no yenim say, and we hope and pray say information ya share so far no ebi a na yɛnyinaa no at some point in yɛafa biribi kakra wɔ mu a yɛde ɛyɛ adwuma nti yɛpɛ sɛ yɛfa saa akwanya wei na yɛma yɛtiefoɔ nyinaa nso akɔ aba to ɛna program no yɛda nyame ase Dr. Ewua Yabada was so for every no making the time, being with us. Like I said the other time, we are the financial doctors. I mean, we we don't do surgery, but we look at our finances.
Financial surgery.
Yeah, financial surgery. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Sure. How best able to Doctor, welcome. Into any opening remarks, then we get into
yeah. Oh, nothing major. Just happy and blessed to be here. And the goal of every time we come on here to be able to add value and try to make an impact and make a difference. That's what we do this for. We're not getting paid for this. It's just a matter of us just kind of using our time, our resources, and our knowledge to be able to help you guys to be able to make good financial choices. So that's it. Happy to be here. Hopefully, hopefully it makes an impact.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. Yeah, you're 100% right. First of all, I mean, we are blessed to be here. I mean, just being alive in Okra, no, it's something which is great. Into that, Nyamiase, Hona, Yatir Fonso and Umren, so Motier and Sonia Damwase for making the time to be with us. And as I said earlier on, for the last several weeks, we've been talking about budgeting, and Nyamia Domoa today. We are wrapping up budget BNTB budget will be for Nyamia Dom Wonya Bibia Frim Ode Abayewa Juma. But we pretty much today, and our goal is to recap everything that we have done in the last several weeks. We'll have like a PowerPoint presentation that we want to share now, at least as you look at it, maybe you can write down some of the few points your friends will lead us into your topic for Nyame Aduma next week. Let me let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's more about like budgeting and the fundamentals and the overview, and your friends say yes, share. Dog, I think from the beginning, once we decided to go into budgeting, there was something that we tried to establish. The question that we asked our audience is, okay, I need to budget, but if I do, what are some of the benefits I mean from budgeting? I have some few points over here which has been listed over here. One of them is it gives you control over your money. I mean, we have said over and over again, sir, and in your profession, there were so many people, they have the money, but they allow the money to control them. And because of that, some of the decisions that they make, it's not offense, sometimes more. In your 30,000 food, you can't say the benefits of budget now. Just give us your take on that. Now, at least, who said, we are trying to recap everything today.
Yeah. So, as you've mentioned, and as for the past 3-4 weeks, we've been discussing budgeting. I know it seems a bit repetitive, but it's very important that, they say the repetition is the mother of learning, right? Mm-hmm. So the more you hear, the more you're able to retain it. And every time you hear something, the same thing over, it's been said that you don't learn nothing new, but something new changing you, right? You kind of, you're able to take the information and you digest, you kind of learn it differently. So the more you hear, you are able to make a strong and firm decisions with your money. And at the end of the day, as we mentioned, in order for anybody to want to do something, they have to see that it's a benefit in it for them, right? And in finance, if you're serious about getting your money to actually work for you, if you're serious about making strong financial changes that are going to impact your financial life, that can impact your family, that can impact your future, it all starts with what? Number one, the idea and the thought in your head that, hey, I want to make this change. And then once you decide, hey, I want to make this change, the question now is this: okay, where's my money going? Right? And if you have not sat down to actually write it out, right? The Bible says, right, write the vision and make it plain, right? So if you don't sit down and write it out, how will you know where you are and where you're trying to go and how to make that changes, right? So what budgeting do, as you see here in the bullet points, number one, it gives you control over your money. Number two, it keeps you focused towards your financial goals. Number three, it helps you to stay aware of where your money is going. Because think about it. If you don't control where your money goes, it will control where it goes. And every single month, you're going to have more month at the end of the money. Right? And that's because there is no game plan, right? And number four, it helps you to be able to save for expected and unexpected costs, because we all know things are always going to come up, and the people that struggle financially are the ones that are unprepared. And when you budget, you're able to find and save money, or find money that you are wasting, which you can now turn into savings, which cannot help you when you get in a little bit of trouble, or help you when you're able to when you need to make a major purchase, right? And lastly, having a budget or putting together a budget helps you to be able to clarify areas where you can save money, as I just mentioned. Because sometimes, right, we know how much money is coming in, but most of us do not know where the money is going. You might think you have some money, but you'll be amazed what happens when you actually sit down and write out your expenses. You'll be blown away to see where your money is going. So,
yeah. Thank you so much. And so, what summarizes everything. But one of the big thing, I think, it's one of the areas from say a share budget now. So you've always been mentioning that, it's especially like, how do I save when I don't even have like a budgeter guiding me in some of these things, On say the benefits, as the last bullet point in a sense, it helps you, because at the end of the day, now we'll put you all down, your income, your expenses near at the end, and then say, okay, at the end of it, and I can maybe $50, $100. Now let me your friend is look into the areas your friend is met to me a save. And see, we are not going into too much about like what the definition is, which we have done all that from the beginning there. But who say in budgeting, there are like three different areas. Number one is our income. Number two is our expenses. Then the final part, once then we have our savings, and so a happy ends for towards like our retirement, and also something for finance and the future. And yet here for your mamo aquaba to your jumadi and your mray. Yashada na yapasa numere no share these points with us na like a recap into maybe you can take your pen and paper, maybe I will share every no you can write down some few tips to be also over to me at the friends Doc, in this area no any information be our person will share with us be on like the three different categories of you can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these three major areas, right, that is what doing a budget help you to be able to see and to be able to get guidance, right? Because a budget is literally composed of two major things, which is the expenses and the income. By doing a budget, you now are able to find money to then save, right? So savings is a byproduct of putting together a strong budget. Because if you look at a budget, it shows you, hey, from all the jobs I have, whether one job, I may have a business, I may have a side hustle, I may have a, on and off money. If I look at budget, how much money do I have coming in consistently each month, right? And then when I look at my expenses, what are my expenses? Food, electricity, cable bill, phone bill, mortgage or rent, or car or auto insurance, home insurance. I mean, so when I look at all my expenses, right, shopping, going grocery shopping, eating out, dining out. When I look at my expenses, although I'm making some decent money, but yet every month I seem to be living check to check, right? So when you do the budget, it helps you to be able to say, okay, maybe I'm spending too much money here on eating out, or I'm spending too much money here shopping each month, going to the different stores. You know what? Because I want to make changes, what will happen if I cut those expenses in half? What is it going to do for me, right? Now, if you're able to commit to that, that money can now be taken. Part of it can be used for what? To what? For your savings. And some other parts can be used to what? Pay down your debts. And some other parts can be used to what? Invest. So that from these three major components here, the expenses and the income are the two major points that make up the budget. But the third one, which is the savings, is a byproduct of having a proper strategy that shows you income and expenses.
Thank you so much. And yet here for yes, I can be because you wrap up your budget, for this week in into maybe you have a question. Be will be you can either call in 240-280-2633, and also between us send a WhatsApp message to 510-931-0946. Question about question will be able to help you answer those questions and send a budget. Even between our tears. In fact, so share say income is coming in, expenses going out. Into those are the two things. Me per se, share the super and the three main components of the budget. We have the income, money you earn from a range of sources. Depending on the juma where you have different things come. And now your expenses are your outgoings and the funds that you pay to others. Dr. Where I dig into it in terms of the various expenses they be your friends in care any your savings, anything which is left over yet to me this year we can even plan go to Dr. Who say, hey, I have this SSA, help me put this money away somewhere. Just a bit to me, abuame for the future. And from day one, in talking about your budget the question and fans are back up so many times, and it's where to start. Where do I start, and how do I even start doing this? Because what's the word budget are not so Doug, help us to unpack it a little bit. I want to do it. Where do I start, and how do I start?
Yeah, so once again, I think there's a very strong misconception when it comes to budgeting, and I think it's because of the negative connotations that people have about budgeting. Right? People feel like budgeting somehow is going to restrict them, and somehow it's going to make their life boring. They can't spend money, right? I sit down countless people that the moment you suggest that, hey, perhaps you may want to budget to be able to start really understanding your money, they kind of have this look on their face like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to enjoy doing this? And it's because of fear, right? Because of what? The unknown, or they don't know how, they've never done budgeting. They've never sat down or had education on budgeting, right? So the thing I always advise people is this, right? if you want to make changes with your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make serious changes with your money, I don't know how you do it without budgeting, because the budgeting process allows you to truly understand your money. It helps you be able to develop a discipline for your money. Because I'm telling you, it's in finance, we tell you it's not how much money you make, it's how much you get to keep. And most people that lack a budget or that do not have a budget, oftentimes they overspend their money, right? Think about it. It's about 55% of Americans that overspend their money, right? They make $1, they spend $1.33. So they're constantly what? Turning money, and they never have money. They're what? Overspending. And they're living check to check. 78% of Americans live check to check. Now just think about that, right? And yes, maybe you may not making enough money or making a lot of money, but whatever money you are making, it is your responsibility to figure out how you can make that money stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And without sitting down and coming up with a game plan and being disciplined and being serious about figuring out where your money is going, how can you make changes?
Yeah.
Right? So it's in sitting down, figuring out where your money, and to me, as an advisor, I thoroughly enjoy doing my budget. Myself and my wife, we do it. Every time money's coming, we sit down and we budget. Why? We don't want no funny surprises. So before the money comes, it's already spent on paper. So that when it comes, we know exactly where that money needs to go. Okay, you know what? Last month, maybe we were spending a little bit on our grocery. Maybe this month, let's be a little bit more mindful. It's not about how much money you make, or oh, you make a lot of money, so what does it matter? That's wrong thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because why waste extra money, or why waste money if you can save it no matter how much you make, right? Because there's no guarantee you're going to make money forever. So you want to develop the discipline to budget. And guess what? You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. You do it to a point where you become very aware of your money. And once you feel very comfortable, at some point, you don't have to do your budget every month. But like I said, it's a skill, and it's an exercise that can literally bring spouses together if they look at it the right way. It can also cause problems in the marriage because if they look at it the wrong way, right? So at the end of the day, it's really about the person and how serious they are. Because if a person comes to me and say, hey, I really want to make a difference and make some strong changes to my finances. I need to do better. I'm struggling. I want to and I suggest to them, hey, let's look at budgeting, and they balk at it, or they are defiant and wanting to do it. To me personally, they don't need to be a client of mine, because at the end of the day, you want to make a change, but you're not willing to do the necessary things to bring that change to fruition, right? So to me, the budget is so essential. It's so essential, but because people don't understand it and they have the misconception about it, it scares them, or it makes them feel like their life is going to be tight. But you have no idea how much having a budget can liberate your life. It can free your life, because why? It frees the burden of your mind from overthinking about money. If you have a budget, you know exactly how much is coming in and where it's going, and at the end of the month, how much you have left over. And it shows you exactly where on that sheet you can begin to lower certain places where you're overspending your money. So it can really bring a lot of great revelation to your money if you ever take it seriously and actually do it without having this wrong idea about budgeting.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for unpacking how to your friends, so how and where and when to start your budget. Nti your tier for your name say more fa mukra mo pen mo paper na more treasure nneɛma way down. Once again, no question be a true, so something be a one tier say we hear clarification on. You can call into 240-280-2633. And now you can send your message, through WhatsApp or 510-931-0946. And a little bit, you said another piece, and it's any time we budget beyond, so we also need to keep our lifestyle in mind.
Yes.
Budget is not about competition.
Yes.
When you be and competition, it's you. If it's you're single, it's just you planning your life.
Yeah.
It's about you, your wife, and the man are more planning.
That's
Don't
right.
look at what Mr. B or Mr. C is doing to enable you to do your budget. No, look
Yeah.
at your lifestyle, how you want to live your life, and your friends plan accordingly.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. Mhm.
1,000%. And with the phone, always no, please, please, please. I highly encourage you when you guys are on here on the show, listen to us, right? It's one thing to listen, it's also another thing to apply, and it's also another thing to ask questions. Because the only way to truly understand deeply what we're discussing is if you ask questions, right? So we highly, and plus, it makes it more enjoyable for us because this is real life situation that we are answering
Yeah.
the questions to. So please, I highly encourage you guys to come weekly with questions, and no question is ever a dumb question. Because guess what?
Yeah.
Because you ask it, it means somebody else is thinking about it. So
Mhm. Yeah, thank you so much, Doug, for pointing that out. Because sometimes some of us we are shy to ask questions. At the end of the day, not your man, so no.
yeah, yeah,
Here, and see, now we move on to things to remember about budgeting. Yeah, I can say make sure your list reflects your priorities, and you can always adjust your goals as your priorities change. And budgeting takes time, patience, and effort. Some of us, today, you per se, it's not yeah, budget, you be like one, but it's a process. And the process, like Dr. Wu said, you start from somewhere, you look at all your financial goals, then you begin building idea, let's just say at the end of it, knowing a comprehensive guide that guide your
yeah,
financial goals.
yeah,
And the question is, what happens if you don't budget? On say, Sisi say no, you can establish the benefits of budgeting. So now, no, Doc, if I decide to say, okay, I'm not going to budget, I'm just going to spend as the money comes in. I don't care. I don't. It's just like say, I'm going to New York. I don't know which road to go or which you're interested to use, and I just get into my car and I want to drive to New York. What will happen to us if that's what you used to do? Doug, help us out.
So that's a great, great, great question, right? At the end of the day, right? It's either you want things the easy way
Mhm.
or the hard way. If you look at a lifestyle or if you look at the bank accounts of people who live lives without a budget, right? Unless you're making multi-millions, whatever. But how do you think most people who win lotteries go broke? Why? There's no game plan. There is no financial game plan, right? There's high excessive overspending. Because why?
Mhm.
There is no budget telling them, hey, where the money needs to go, right? So all these things, most millionaires, as most athletes, by the time they retire, they go broke. Think about it. There's one NBA player that made almost $200 million during his playing career. But when he retired, he went broke. Now, how is that possible? You might say, oh, there's no way I'm going to blow $200 million. You don't know that, right? Because you see, because you're not making that kind of money, you think, oh, if I make it, I'm going to save it. No. Even at your own level, you're not budgeting. So what makes you think that on that high level, you're going to budget? So the Bible tells you, if you are faithful to a few, I shall make you ruler of what? Many.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be able to understand and appreciate where you are on your own level. If you make 25,000, if you make 50,000, make things work at that what? Income. And it all starts with budgeting. And the reason why most people out here trying to compete, they're going broke competing, is because why? They have the wrong perspective. They have the wrong outlook. Instead of competing, you live life on your own level. If $25,000 is not enough for you, then guess what? You could try to make more money, right? But guess what? Sometimes that $25,000, if you properly budget it or if you properly manage it, you might figure out that you are better off than somebody making 50,000 who don't have money. Right? So, in a nutshell, really, I'm telling you, because guess what? If there's no control over your money, I promise you, you are always going to be in lack. You are always going to have debt problems. You are always going to have credit card issues. Because why? You begin to have a consumer mindset where you spend. At some point, you don't have any money to where you begin to use credit cards. Right? It's a vicious cycle that if you don't control, it can get you in a whole lot of trouble. Now, think about it. If you are not watching your money, if you are not budgeting your money, how can you have savings for an emergency?
Yeah.
How can you have savings for retirement? Because the same 25K that you're making, you need to save some of that for your emergency account, save some of that for your retirement account, save some of that for your kids' education, save some of that for your life insurance, save some of that for your, there's so many different things. So if you're overspending, how can you create a strong financial house?
Yeah.
It's impossible, right? So the key I always ask people is on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you in achieving financial independence? If they say, oh my God, 10, and then I ask them, what are you doing about it right now to achieve that goal? There's quiet. On one scale, you want to achieve financial peace. On another scale, there is no plan. What does the Bible say about not having a plan? Or the knowledge base? Without what? Knowledge or vision, the people what? Perish. If you don't have a vision for where you want to be financially, what's going to happen? Because there's no vision, you overspend that money, and guess what? You perish. Your money perishes. Why? You now become a borrower. And the Bible says, what about a borrower? A borrower is always what? Slave to the lender. So now you start off wanting financial peace, but you are now becoming a slave. Just think about that, right? And like I said, to me, by the grace of God, fortunate enough where, the finances are in a good position. But at the end of the day, I also know that as much as God has blessed me and my family, I also need to make sure that I protect what He has given me. It's not my money, right? I'm only a steward of God's money.
Yeah.
Right? So if I don't do what I need to do to protect it and I lose it, why would God want to bless me more?
True.
Right? And so budgeting shows God how serious you are about your money.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, like I said, you clearly see these bullet points here on the PowerPoint. If you do not put together a strong and proper budget, you're going to overspend. You are going to fall into a debt cycle. You are going to have very, very limited spending power. Because why? There's no money saved. You are not going to have any savings or investments. And this will absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, lead to lack of future financial security. Now imagine being a breadwinner of your house and your wife, your children, or your spouse, they're all looking at you, but yet in the account, there is no money. How confident do you feel about your future? Yeah. If anything bad was to happen, how confident do you feel that you can cover it? If an accident was to happen, can you pay for it? Or you have to go borrow money from your friends? Right? It adds as embarrassment to your life because why? You're working, but yet you're borrowing money from your friends and family, right? So at the end of the day, we don't say these things to try to just scare you. We say it to let you know how real things are if you don't budget. Because I'm telling you, there's going to come a time where you're going to have some money saved to be able to address an emergency. And if you don't have a plan to address that emergency, how could it impact your family? Right. So, brother Sim, I love these bullet points. They are very. This is absolutely what it is exactly. If you don't budget, absolutely, I agree with every single bullet point.
Thank you so much for taking the time to unpack what happens if we don't spend, if we don't budget. Yeah, because we have benefits, and definitely, so no, we also need to know, says, one, yes, some of these things, now, yeah, what are the implications? And
Sure.
just some of, which are, yeah, can have some, And just more like a recap now. Into budget is about saving money. Better budgeting helps to end up with more money for you to manage.
Yeah.
And also an accurate budget brings discipline and order to your finances. I mean, you can want some from all the previous weeks in where there is no budget. The man is spending anyhow.
Yeah.
Man also spending anyhow. You know why? Because anytime we go to the store, you crack card, we swipe, boom, approved. So, but we don't even look back and see, say, na sikano cry na say now, but we go ahead and do all this.
Brother Sam,
yes.
Why do you think banks and credit card companies, why do you think they push those credit cards so much to us? Because they have done research to find out that human beings are 3 times more likely to spend using a credit card than to spend their own money in their hand.
Yeah.
If you give somebody a $100 bill and a credit card, 10 times out of 10, when they go to a store, they're going to use that credit card because why? They don't want to break that $100 bill.
Yeah.
It's psychology.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's 100% psychology, So.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point you bring up right now. No, I had a $50 note in my wallet. But anytime I pull that $50 note out to buy something, like, wow, I'm gonna spend. And it's funny because when I use the card, so I don't feel it that way. But when I'm using the cash, it's like, no, this is too much. Then I put it back.
Yes, they have done studies.
Yeah.
They have done studies to show that.
Yeah.
That's why those cars companies, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry because they know how human psychology works.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are attached to that dollar so much, but the card, there's no attachment.
No. So thank you so much for bringing that point up. And until I know, sir, it's been an interesting discussion, and we'll be every more. I mean, some people they try to go cashless, meaning they are using their cards. If you have the discipline, that's fine to do that, great. But if you don't, the recommendation is always use cash. Once you spend it, you're done, and your friends, you're moving on. Right now, this is like a surge way to some of the things that next week in Nyamia Domoa, because at the end of it, Nyamia Dom, Yatumia establish a budget, kama So what is the next step? What do we go again? Into once you set a budget in place, now is the time. Some excess income be a done channel. Now is the time to plan our savings. Quickly, we'll go through this. Not next week in India, you go into details. You be taking like one at a time, and talk about your friend is saying some of these things. We have 3 components of a saving plan. In fact, as an individual, or as a family, we need to plan to save. Because the unfortunate thing is that we don't know what will happen like tomorrow. And Dr. Wu, I think, sir, in our previous discussions, you mentioned something that Debiano, it comes back to me, sir. What about right now, something happens to me, I become like disabled, I'm unable to like work again. The question then becomes, how do I take care of myself?
Yeah.
And how do I take care of my family that I leave behind?
Yeah.
So that's the reason here it is important now to start some savings, some form of savings.
Yeah.
Into this savings plan is broken down into 3 different categories. You be taking one at a time. Next week we'll go into detail. we have our emergency fund, we have our short-term savings,
Yep.
and we have our long-term savings.
Yep.
Each of them, it's used for a different purpose.
Yeah.
We are not going to go into details. We just want you to be excited. So next week, you'll join us, because each of there's a reason why there's an emergency fund.
That's right.
There's a reason there is a short-term savings, and there's a reason for long-term. What are they used for? Join us next week.
Absolutely.
The answers, this gives explanation on all this. We are not going to go into details near there, but Doug, before we transition into all these different things, just briefly, what is your take on emergency fund? Is this something that you recommend to families or an individual, and not say, oh, don't worry about it, take it a day at a time?
Whenever I sit down with individuals, clients, business owners, the one thing I always ask them is, if something was to happen to you today, if you were to lose your job today, how long can your family survive without your income? And they become very quiet. Because why? I already know that 78% of Americans live check to check, right? So if something happens to you today, and I know the average person lives check to check, how long can your savings really last for your family until you find a new job? 1 month, 2 months? Then what happens in 2 months if you haven't found a new job yet? You lose your house. What happens to your family then, right? So it's so vital to have. It is one of the first account. I tell people, forget about investing in the stock market. Forget about short-term savings. If you don't have an emergency account, that's one of the first places I start to advise on, is to create and begin to save money for an emergency account, right? 3 to 6 months. Obviously, the idea is, or the ideal target is 3 to 6 months your income, because it's known, according to statistics, that most people, when they lose their job, it takes them 3 to 6 months to find a new job, right? So that's what they tell you, 3 to 6 months. But I also know that a lot of people are struggling financially, living check to check. So that 3 to 6 months of their income or the expenses, it goes over their head. It's almost impossible, right? And I always tell them, hey, look, just save up $1,000 in an account where you will not touch onto an absolute emergency. And then once you're able to save that $1,000, we now begin to start addressing the short term and the long term. Because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time to build wealth investing in the market. But the emergency can come even to same day or tomorrow. You don't control that. So you want to prepare for that, right? So emergency account is extremely, extremely important. And then once you're able to build up the 3 to 6 months of your expenses, you can even go up to a year. Now imagine having 1 year of your monthly expenses saved somewhere. Could you imagine the peace of mind you can have in your life? Knowing that if anything happened to me, my family is good for at least 1 year. It gives you a sense of power, a sense of control, and a sense of freedom. But most people don't understand that until they actually begin to do it.
Yeah, it's very important, friends, as some of our can, and a lot of us, it's hard. Right now, we're living from paycheck to paycheck. So the question is, I can't even save any idea. And you rightly said, right now, in fact, it takes at least 3 to 6 months for you to find another job. Maybe your family depends on you to help with this. So if you lose your job today, now, how are you going to take care of your family if there's no income coming in? Or even simply, sometimes I ask people, and they say, right now, like you have a car, or for example, you have a house, and your AC breaks down right now. Some electrical issues happens in the house right now. Your car breaks down right now. What is the plan? How do you take care of these things? And people will tell you, oh yeah, that's why I have my credit card. Seriously? And I tell them, say, yeah, the credit card no is there. I get it. But you need to have certain amount to be set aside for these type of emergencies, when they come up. So you don't have to fall into the trap of using your credit card, which at the end of the month, who I went to me and then it starts accumulating interest. Yeah. Oh, yeah, some of this into next week, we'll go deeper into some of these things,
Yeah.
And you bet how to calculate like your emergency fund. It be free say 3 months, it be free say 1 month, it be free say 12 months near there. But one kasa as an individual, you need to sit with your family, not so a peace of mind. Please don't do 1 month. 1 month is good, at least it's a good start. But is it something that no, it takes a long time for you to build the emergency funds. When should you use your emergency fund? We'll go into next week, in a year. You care about deciding when to use your emergency funds. You break it up into like different categories of where that emergency fund falls and some of the things that you can use it for. And we'll also talk about short-term your friends savings. Doug, I know sir, your time we are wrapping up, so we can use this because your short-term savings, your long-term savings. So just what our appetite for next week in terms of when we say short-term savings, long-term savings.
Yeah, as we just discussed the emergency account, 3 to 6 months ideally. The short-term savings, to me, I always tell people, hey, this is money that, hey, it's your day-to-day. It could be in a regular checking or savings account in the bank. The day-to-day you're spending, you used to pay your bills, you used to pay your car notes, pay your insurances and stuff like that, right? That's one account. You can even subdivide it, right? To me, a short-term savings can be a 2 to 4 year game plan where, hey, look, you know what? Within the next 2-3 years, I want to go buy a house. I want to go buy this. I want to go buy a car. I want to go buy this. So you also want what? Save separately from your day-to-day spending. So even within the short-term savings, you can subdivide it into your regular day-to-day and also maybe your 2 to 4 year game plan, right? And then the long-term savings is what? Your 10-year and above plan. This is your retirement game plan. This is your money you will never ever touch until you're ready to what? Retire and walk away, right? With the retirement age, the earliest you can start taking the money without any penalties, what? Age 59 and a half. So all your accounts, right? If you have your emergency account in place, you have your short-term account in place, it prevents you from touching your retirement account because your retirement account comes with penalties and also what? Paying back the interest or the money you took off your retirement account. So it's the last thing you ever want to touch. So by having an emergency account and a short-term account, you have a buffer between those and your retirement account. Like I said, we'll go more in detail next week to kind of figure out how to kind of create those.
All right, Doug, thank you so much. Yeti fonso no yabada mo asese nwumre so munya daje na muni edi dwumade we no like Dr. Waka no in fact the more questions among the baba no the more a program so no interactive and interesting. Then we know say at least in mutie no bibi ewo mu a ntiase anya adwuma, just bring it up na yina no yanka mom nti Dog yada wase yetie fon so yada mo asibiem nti next week you use budget no ya build the budget na we now we planning on what do I save, how do I save, and how do I even plan my long-term savings, which is my retirement until next week say beshia no tom safra unuabi odofu bi na no yenhia na financial doctors, are you ready to help? Until then, no.
God bless. All right, take care guys. God bless.
Yes.
All right.